we open on February 1st. We're having our members opening this coming Saturday. So just to clarify, so her work has actually been up for several weeks now.
Yeah, so it's in the space right now. And the space is in the Tannery Arts
Center. We have a gallery there, which is the hub of the SCICA, which Ann and I run.
The Santa Cruz Institute of Contemporary Art, something that Santa Cruz has been needing and wanting for many years, and one of your long-term projects. Is that right? Kirby Scudder?
Yes, Nada, if that's really your name.
That is really my name.
And it's funny, the last time I saw you, I was interviewing you.
That's right. That was awfully fun. I loved Kirby does the most wonderful videos and interviews. He works for the Sentinel. He works for KUSP. He does audio, visual, binga banga boom, and also curator for many years. He began with partner Chip, the First Friday Santa Cruz, which started 9 years ago, and just before that, a little bit, now going on 10 years soon, was the Santa Cruz Institute of Contemporary Art, but it didn't have a home until just now, December.
Well, let me just explain a little bit, because I know Ann's going to fill you in a lot of details, and unfortunately we do have to run in a little bit to go over to KUSB.
I'll let you know when that happens.
But, here's what happened, just really briefly. About 10 years ago when I first moved to Santa Cruz, a woman who was from Boston, and Boston has a very predominant ICA there. They've now brought a brand new state-of-the-art building, which is beautiful. So we both spent a lot of time in Boston, knew about ICAs. She said, instead of running galleries, why don't you start an ICA? And I looked at her, I thought, there's no way this town is ready for an ICA.
You're talking about Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz, that's correct. I mean, we didn't even have a gallery when I first got here, so...
Well, a lot of people say, Kirby, that you almost single-handedly brought the major art movement that we have today in Santa Cruz, and that we should applaud you and thank you and support all of the work that you've done, and along with Chip as well, and now with Ann Hazels as your co-director.
Ann is doing brilliant work both at the Tannery and at the ICA.
Yeah, we'll talk to her.
You can stroke her later. So just really briefly, I mean, so what happened is there were no galleries. There were all these artists in Santa Cruz, but no place for them to show.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, which made no sense to me. Being from New York, it made no sense. So we started to open these kind of phantom galleries in empty spaces. And then I rethought, about 4 or 5 months later, I rethought the idea of the ICA, and I thought, maybe that is as crazy as an idea as it is. Maybe it's worth pursuing. So we invited Kathy Kimball, who's the current director of the ICA in San Jose, to come down and kind of pick her brain and say, what do you think? I mean, we're 35 miles away from you. Is that kind of pushing the territory? And she said, Santa Cruz is the best, most creative area. It would be a brilliant idea to do that here. So we launched the ICA in 2004, and the ICA was in every one of our galleries. I mean, it was the presenting body. But my interest, particularly very early on when I got involved with the Tannery, was always to have the permanent location there. And thanks to Ann and a lot of support from ArtSpace and the Tannery Arts Center people themselves, we were able to move in on November 17th of this year. And so we have our permanent home now at the Tannery.
And when you first started 10 years ago, it was called the Question Gallery.
The Question Mark Gallery.
The Question Mark, because the location changed.
No, actually, you want to know why we called it that? People think that. The reason is there were 3 of us involved, and we had all these ideas for names, and nobody could agree. So after a month of arguing, we said, forget it. And so every time we'd write it down what the name of the gallery was, we'd put a question mark, and finally somebody said, why don't you just call it the Question Mark? And we did.
Oh, that's great. There's a Question Mark restaurant in Belgrade, one of the oldest restaurants in Belgrade, and the reason they called it Question Mark is because it was across the street from the church, and they wanted to serve liquor. And so to get around from having to close down, they just changed their sign. Yeah. Said, oh, you're suing the wrong place. We're a question. So, anyways, that was fun. Anyway, it's not about you, though, Kirby, because we're here about you. You're about to start an exhibition called The Alter Eco, Exploring the Landscape of Change. How did you, what made you come up with that theme? The first, we're going to talk about that later with Ann. The first exhibition for the Santa Cruz Institute of Contemporary Arts was a steampunk show.
Well, the first in the new location was steampunk, and then we did Alter Eco, and we have another one coming up at the end of March. But yeah, I mean, the Alter Eco was really Ann's idea, and I'll let her talk about that.
Great.
But what we're trying to do is, I probably put together curated 300 shows in all these galleries. I've had 8 galleries prior to this one. A lot of shows.
Whew, you make me tired just thinking about it.
So, but we are looking at our programming differently. I mean, when I first got here, just a little explanation, the museum was kind of the only game in town, and they would have 4-month-long shows. So when we started the first Question Mark Gallery, I decided to do the opposite of that, and we were turning out shows every 3 weeks. So what would happen is in a town like Santa Cruz that people were used to these elongated shows, people would come in after 4 weeks and say, well, what happened to the show? I said, well, it's gone. We're on to a new one. So it was kind of like in first Friday.
Picking up the pace.
Pick up the pace.
We needed that. And it's picked up.
And First Friday followed suit by convincing everybody to have their openings on the same day, which at first everybody said, there's no way. You're crazy. First Friday will never work. And we're never going to have our opening the same night as you because you're just going to steal our audience. And I said to them, I said, and I'm not going to tell you who these people were, but I said,
no names.
This is a case of more is more. I mean, First Friday is more is more. And now, so if the audience for the visual arts was, let's say, 100 people in 2004, now there's thousands of people. I mean, they didn't just breed. They were already there. It was just a matter of bringing everybody together.
Right, making it a habit,
and
giving them space.
And you had to do it quickly. You had to turn shows out. So interestingly enough, starting that pace, Ann and I are now doing every 2 months, which is great and helps us out a lot and makes a lot of sense.
And it helps the artists, of course.
And helps the artists.
So they have a place to show their stuff.
Right.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Kirby Scudder is the director of the Santa Cruz Institute of Contemporary Arts, the place where sharing contemporary art through public access to art, artists, and the creative process, something that Kirby has been doing here for Santa Cruz for the last 10 years, and we are the better for it. How is it to watch your little seedling grow into the great oak it is today?
I got to tell you, I mean, I live at the Tannery. I've lived at the Tannery for 7.5 years.
Oh, that's great. You got in.
So, yeah, I got in. But, I mean, to watch that project evolve, to see the growth of First Friday, to see the art scene gel, and I can't take full credit for all that. Many, many people have been involved. All I did was identify something early on, that there was this huge group of artists, and they weren't organized. So all we did was, I mean, I didn't invent First Friday. We stole it from, I think, Oakland or Sacramento. But just applied things that worked in other areas and made them, twisted them to Santa Cruz. So to answer your question, last First Friday, I was in my apartment getting ready to go down the gallery, and I thought, this is really amazing. If you just stand back from it, see all these people that I don't know who they are, going through the Tannery, enjoying the Tannery experience, enjoying First Friday, hearing stories about downtown is just packed, the museum is packed. Felix Culpa, you couldn't even get into Felix Culpa.
Mobs of people.
Right.
It's incredible. The buzz is enormous.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, and now Chip and Abra, who've taken over First Friday, are doing a brilliant job. Brilliant. I mean, they've helped grow it, by institutionalizing it, by creating apps and all sorts of great things.
The app is great.
Yes,
I love the app. The app is free, folks. Just go to the iTunes store and you can find First Friday, Santa Cruz First Friday, and download it, and then you will always be in the know.
Yeah, and so kudos to Chip and what he's done. But, the thing is, there's really, like with all things, what I found, I mean, it's true in life in general, but really important here is you've got to stick to it. You have your radio show. I have 8 years of a weekly radio show. I know what
we
it's
didn't talk
like.
about that. Kirby is also the producer, interviewer, everything at KOSP's Art Studio.
Right, Art Studio.
Which is a weekly arts column, and also the Santa Cruz Sentinel. You do a artist profile every week.
I do a weekly column that's profiling artists.
And he makes the best videos for the profiles, especially for me.
Yours was the best.
You're the best.
The rest I've thrown out.
The rest I love it.
I've deleted my whole YouTube account.
It's been really exciting for me to get you on, Kirby, because you're usually the interviewer.
Right.
And so how is it for you to be interviewed? Because you've been making the rounds with Ann here, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things we're doing is we want to get the word out about what we're doing with the ICA. And it really is a fundamentally different ICA that we're running right now. And it is at the Tannery, which is really exciting. We really want to promote those two components because Ann works for the Tannery as well. But yeah, I mean, I've been interviewed so many times since I've been here. I mean, it's easy for me to sit here and talk about what we do. But, all these years I've been interviewing people. So, I mean, I don't even know how many people I've interviewed, but I'm like this week alone has been absolutely crazy, and that's where we're going, is to interview 4 more people, including Crystal.
That's great.
So it's interesting, but it helps. I mean, I think it really helps give me a perspective on this community, particularly working for the Sentinel now. That's a very different animal than KUSP. I mean, radio's great, as you know, but to write for the Sentinel, it's this connection with this long-standing paper that has a lot of people have a lot of opinions about it, both pro and con. So it's kind of interesting to be doing that now as well. And I'm not a particularly good writer, so I'm kind of amazed that Wallace even asked me to do it.
That's Wallace Bain, folks.